My name is Rodney Kite. I am from Barco, North Carolina in Currituck County. I am the chairman of the Historic Boat Committee. My love of the boats here in Currituck County comes probably from my father. We started out hunting in a small skiff with a float rig, and my brother and my dad and myself spent many days on the water, whether we were shooting ducks or just talking about things in the world. And I'd like to pass that on, and I did pass it on to my own son, and I'd like to pass it on to my grandchildren someday. So the boats are important to me for that reason. Our whole history revolves around boats and the water. I've had travelers from Arizona come here and they couldn't believe everywhere they looked there was water. Well, the water has influenced who we are as a people, and it has definitely impacted how Currituck County has evolved. It was the first industry we had in this county probably. It was boat building and the duck hunting. You had to have the boats to hunt the ducks. You know, if you think about it, our first tourists to Currituck County came here because of the boats, the resources, the water. They were wealthy sportsmen coming from up north. They come down here to enjoy the resources that Currituck offered, which were hunting and fishing, and it provided an income for many of our families that were here. This is something that we need to cherish.
Well, the boats that we have right now that are in the museum that's already been restored were integral parts of the industry that we had, where it was long net fishing or hunting or even taking sport fishing parties. They were the means to get the people out there.
My family made their livelihood from the Currituck sign as boat builders, decoy makers, and guides for both fishing and hunting. When I look at the boats that's been restored, one of them was built by my Uncle Blanton for the Wildlife Commission. And it makes me feel good to think a part of my uncle is still with us and we cared enough to restore and save his boat.
Way before there were vehicles and roads, there was always boat. That's how people got around. It's very important for a future generation to see boats that were built 100 years ago. And I think the oldest one we have was built like in 1916, and it's been fully restored. If we don't preserve these boats for historical sake, then they'll eventually waste away. Since they will hopefully be in a museum type setting, then the story will be told about the importance of each boat and why each boat was shaped the way it was. If we didn't preserve our history, then Currituck County would be just like any other place you go.
I think this phrase says what this boat committee is all about and what it wants to do. It has been said that at its best, preservation engages the past in a conversation with the present over a mutual concern for the future.
My name is Jerry Wright. I was born and raised here in Currituck County. The boats are a symbol of days gone by, whether it be this boat that was built in 1943 that has many, many stories that it could tell. The Mildew is a boat that we are working to help preserve in our county. It was built in 1943. Mr. Pat O'Neill, one of our famous boat builders, and his brother, who did much of the boat work, built the boat for his own personal use. And my dad and Thurman Chatham, who owned Dews Island in the 40s, were fortunate enough that he talked Mr. O'Neill out of ownership of the boat. And Dews Island has used the boat in its operation from 1945 till now. Well, the Mildew has a specific tunnel design in it that allows it to go in very shallow water. This boat I've seen go in 12 inches of water and sandy bottom and keep right on going. Those of us that love these boats and are left to speak are speaking for hundreds of people that are no longer here, that have been part of the history of these boats and utilized and used them in their livelihood across the waters of this county. And it's important that we try and share that with our future kids and also for the people that come and visit us. Tourism is a huge thing in our communities and on our coast, and is one of the strongest industries we have in North Carolina. And remembering those things, whether it's the ponies at Corolla or the Wellhead Club, and the boats are one of the parts of that puzzle that we need to save.
My name is Wilson Walker Snowden. I'm a resident of Currituck County, and I've lived here all my life. My interest has been always Currituck County, and especially the water. That was my hobby. And I'm not a waterman. I don't consider myself a waterman, makes his living on the water. I don't, but I enjoy just being on the water. And so that's my interest in it. And my interest was there in the boats because I've had one ever since I was 10 years old. Well, the preservation of these boats has been going on for 30 years, which seems like a long time, but time passes fast. Well, the boats were unique to us. When you look at those and you see the workmanship in them and all, you have to appreciate that. There was a lot of thought, and these boat builders tried to build something that was usable, workable. And you have to remember, even during the hunting days here, the decoys and everything that they had was like a tool to them. They made them. They didn't have, there was no factory stuff back then. Well, we realized they were going to be scarce, and there wasn't anybody coming along to take up the art of building. We decided trying to save them because history is important to us. The wooden boat was hard to get out of your mind because it came in with fiberglass in the middle 50s. And they were nice, but the wooden boat worked better than the fiberglass. Of course, the fiberglass took the maintenance away, and when they did that, everybody loved that. They wanted the easy path. But it was fun to work on these boats and repair them. It was fun to hang around the boat builders, Pat O'Neill, Wilden Walker, and see what they did. And watching things like that made us appreciate more what was built here. And you know, because you got to realize every individual that built a boat built it for what he was going to use it for. They could build a boat and it looked like a piece of furniture. I have a real appreciation for what these boat builders did. It's a craft that we're losing. It's a part of history, and people need to understand that and know that it's a way of life that was here.
My name is Chandler Sawyer. I am born and raised here in Currituck. My grandfather was Travis Morse, who was also born and raised here in Currituck. His family's been here forever. He basically fell in love with boats when he was a young boy and has been an instrumental part of the Currituck Historic Boat Program. Was one of him and Wilson Snowden were the two that basically got it started, I think in the late 90s. As a young boy, he got fascinated with boats. Like some people like horses, some people like trucks. He liked trucks and boats. And being a lifelong native of Currituck County and seeing how instrumental those boats were in working on the sound, that's just what he fell in love with. So that's why he really felt it was important to preserve the boats here. You know, Granddad just had a knack for retaining information and dates, historical things. So with these boats, he was able to look at a boat and say, you know, that was built by Pat O'Neill and this one was built by Wilton Walker. And one of the things that was important to him, or that he really enjoyed, was the fact that each of these little boats were made for different things in the sound. You had your larger boats, like your gas boats. Those were kind of the 4x4s, the trucks of the sound. And then you had your little skiffs, which were, you know, like your little push mower that you could get around in the shallow waters. But these boats were made especially and specifically for our sound in different areas and for different purposes. You know, some were for carrying people, some were for carrying decoys, some were for fishing. But he just always had a really good ability at, you know, looking at those and just being able to tell you who made it, what it was made for, when it was made, almost down to the day sometimes. At a young age, my grandfather started taking me duck hunting when I was probably about 5 years old. That started building a passion in me of, you know, for duck hunting, and obviously for the boats. We used old wooden skiffs even when I was a kid. The first boat I ever received was from my granddad, and it was an old wooden skiff, which I still have today. There's not a whole lot of those old boats still around that are still in use, even in our sound, because everybody uses fiberglass and aluminum and stuff like that. I got an opportunity to experience the old ways and the old boats, and hopefully we'll be able to pass down the importance of those old boats, even though a lot of them don't exist anymore, to my kids.